It's Friday, the 15th of August, and you are locked, loaded, and ready for launch at the Andrew Gosser Show on WYAB 103.9. And it's going to be a day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to have Howard Richardson on. If you don't know who Howard Richardson is, he's a J6 political prisoner of war. He's got a story to tell. And in the second hour at roughly 11:20 Central Standard Time, hopefully he'll be on. We're making sure that all that's going to work out all right. So I'm excited about that. And I want to get that out there right away. You know, we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on that social media platform that begins with a F, but we don't say the name because they censor the heck out of everything. And we're also always streaming at WYAB.com. Look, if you want to be part of the show today, it's going to be a firecracker. That's all I can really say. It's going to be a firecracker. The number is 601-879-0002. And the text line is open. And oh my gosh, I had a text conversation with a brother last night. And I hear you, man. I just hope I can get you fit into the show today. But my text line is 601-879-5060. And to a couple people texted me wanting to get in touch with Clay. I'll forward all that on to him so that he gets those messages. We have different text lines for different shows. And I think that works out great. It allows individual interaction and collaboration between me and listeners, or Clay and his listeners, or just all of us at the WYAB family. There's more than one way to get in touch with us. Arrogant people inflame a city, but wise people turn away anger. I've said that many times. And you know what also incites anger? A Subway sandwich, especially if it's a 12-inch. And that's the only place to start today. Oh, Mr. Sean Charles Dunn, my son, my brother, you've got a long road ahead of you. And right now, I am wondering why Subway has not immediately turned this opportunity into a monetized situation. I mean, we need to find out what kind of sub that was. Now, I think we can rule out a meatball. I've gone back and I've watched the video several times over and over. And it appears that when he throws the sandwich at that homie, or that, I call him a homie, but he's a police officer, forgive me. When he throws that sandwich at the police officer next to him appears to have mayo strewn across his uniform. So I'm thinking Italian BMT, cold cut trio, maybe a turkey club. But that sandwich did not deserve that ending. What a waste. And to this dude, Sean Charles Dunn, everybody's saying he's he fooled around phase is complete, and he has now just entered the find out phase. And it's going to be a long, long life for you, my friend. I never understood protesting like that. I understood protesting. I've protested a lot of different places, a lot of different things. But I've never, ever felt like I've had to get an attitude and become so obnoxious and ostentatious, belligerent, arrogant, foul-mouthed. I mean, if you see that on the street and you don't know him from Adam, you just look at him like he's nuts. He's crazy, and whatever he's protesting doesn't do anything good for his cause. Now, the flip side to that is that you've got culture rot in DC. And if you go back and listen to that video, the full 2-minute and 30-some second version of that, and I can't play it on the radio. I was gonna bleep out all the cussing, but it just got to be so much cussing, and I had so many duck quacks. I even threw in a couple elephant rhinoceroses and lion roars. It wasn't good radio, quite truthfully. But the part that I want to talk about is that there were people saying, "Hey, should we go get him? Should we go walk him back?" And the people are like, "Nah, nah, let him go," egging him on. Now, some people said he was drunk. I don't know. I haven't seen that report. I'm going to assume that he was because I don't think anybody who has a law degree would be that stupid to act that way sober. That's just you just don't do that in society. Or maybe this generation does. Maybe they do act a fool. Maybe they do act like just, you know, live action role playing children that they are. But that's not good. What is really interesting to me is that this guy worked at DOJ. So to all of you quote unquote left of center normies who think that the deep state is some type of tinfoil conspiracy, this is another exhibit to say that maybe you might want to reconsider that. I'm not going to sit there and belittle or berate that. That's not my style. There are other people who that's their gig and more power to them, but that ain't me. That's not what I do. And this guy had a job at the DOJ, and he's basically been fired by Pam Bondi. She came right out and she smoked him. I'm just going here to Axios, and I will go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this and put this on X right now so that you guys can see exactly what I'm seeing. If you go to Andrew Gasser on X, ANDREWGASSER, you can see the Axis article that I'm following from. And we know he's been fired. But the big picture is that Sean Charles Dunn, 37, is accused of being the man in a viral video who threw a sub-style sandwich at a CPB agent. I've looked at the video here, and I can clearly see Subway marketing, what appears to be Subway marketing, allegedly. Got to say that these days, because in the rare event that you're wrong, someone could sue you for getting the. I mean, it could be a Blimpies. It could be a different Subway sandwich company out there. Sub sandwich company out there. They want to get their 15 seconds of fame. At an agent who was patrolling with Metro Transit Police in Northwest DC Sunday night. This is an example of the deep state, and this is then they're quoting Pam Bondi. This is an example of deep state we've been up against for 7 months as we work to refocus the DOJ. And why it matters is because this guy has been fired, dropping numerous F-bombs, fascist bombs. To be fair to me, it does say it's a Subway sandwich, but it doesn't say what type it is. Axios alleges that he tried to flee but was arrested. Well, there's no alleged about him trying to flee. He took off like he was in a race. He shot off there. And those cops, they did a pretty good job too, man. They were hustling. And you got to remember too, those police officers, they've got battle rattle on, they've got a taser, they've got a weapon, they've got bulletproof vest. Lord only knows what they're in heavier boots. And they were that guy, he was in a salmon colored preppy shirt and some shorts. I couldn't tell what type of shoes he had. But Dunn is now facing charges of assaulting, resisting, and impeding certain officers and employees of the United States. Jean Pirro, like, that's the last person you want to anger. I mean, she's got an axe to grind, and it seems like her axe only gets sharper and sharper. It never dulls. He thought it was funny. He was leading the U.S. Attorney's Office. Who's leading the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C.? Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with felony assault of a police officer, and we're going to back the police to the hilt. And she got her attitude on. And, when you're in that kind of position and you decide that you're going to turn that attitude on, all I can say is good luck. This dude had a great job, apparently at the DOJ, 37 years old, whole life ahead of him. And basically, he just flushed it down the toilet. But that's enough of that dude. There's other stuff that's going on inside DC that is very important that we need to talk about. First of all, DC Attorney General tries to sue Trump over hostile takeover of local police. This is from CNBC. You know, they're not happy with Trump going in there and enforcing the rule of law in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And I know you're saying, Andy, is this really got to do with Jackson? Yes, but I gotta get through D.C. to get to Jackson. Trust me on this one. So the local DC attorney is suing Trump, saying that you're violating your authority. It's unconstitutional. The lawsuit challenges Trump's order, as well as Attorney General Pam Bondi's Thursday order, claiming federal control of the DC police force. Well, if you look at it, Trump can take control of a federalized police force for 30 days without congressional approval. And it's DC is even falls under a different category than, let's say, Jackson, Mississippi, or Chicago, or fill in the blank of any other Democrat mega metropolis hellhole you want to talk about. By declaring a hostile takeover of MPD, the administration is abusing its limited temporary authority under the Home Rule Act, infringing on the district's right to self-governance and putting safety of DC residents and visitors at risk. There are roughly 700,000 people who live in Washington, D.C., and if you go away from the MSLSD or the CNN or any other mainstream media and you start scrolling on TikTok, you will see a lot of folk from DC who are actually happy that this is happening. And I understand why the mainstream media and the liberals don't want this to happen. We can talk about it all day, but we're getting results. Well, it's not we're. Trump is getting results. And this is what I voted for, by the way. I want to see law and order restored. There are so many people, I would say 97% of America really, we don't like getting pulled over by the cops. We don't want to. And do we get apprehensive when we get pulled over? Yeah, but most of us are not going to act like this crazy dude throwing a perfectly good Subway sandwich at that dude. But it's out there. And DC has got so many more problems, and we're going to point them out, but it's already 10:20 Central Standard Time. It's time for me to take my first break. We are off and running on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Hey, what's up? For Subway's going to be sued for what? Oh, that's a great. Oh, dude, I'm writing that down. You want to get on the air with that, or do you just want me to? Oh, dude, great point. Great point. Thank you, brother. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Hey, if you're watching online or if you're listening to the stream, do me a favor, like the stream, retweet it out there, share it on your social media networks, let people know about the show. We've got Howard Richardson coming on at 11:20 Central, 12:20 Eastern time. That's going to be something to hear. And we had one of our frequent callers and texters said something about comparing the Subway sandwich to the Remington company, firearms company. Is there going to be a class action suit against Subway for assault with a 12-inch Subway sandwich? I'm telling you, Subway, if it is a Subway, and it appears to me that it is a Subway, you are missing a golden opportunity to market your subs. We're talking $1 million campaign. You're going to be all right. But let's get back to DC. We were talking about how the DC Attorney General, local crime general, could be that too, allegedly. But the DC Attorney General there is trying to sue the Trump administration and Pam Bondi for illegally exercising their constitutional right. So that's par for the course anymore. All the libs have is to the threat to sue you. And the truth of the matter is, if they sue you in the lower courts, they're going to win. Especially in DC. It's just a very left-leaning place. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. They're going to win. But as it goes up the chain of command, and we here in the Andrew Gosser Show, we know what a chain of command is. The chief of police of DC might not know what the chain of command is, but we do. But as it goes up the chain, as it goes to the appellate court and to the Supreme Court, it all get thrown out. And again, you've got the mainstream media and just the enraged left. I'm not going to say the left. There's good people. I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I have good friends who are on the left who genuinely do not act this way. They feel embarrassed about this. In fact, one of my buddies who I served with for a long time, he goes, "Dude, that's just nuts." I'm like, "Hey, man, that's your side." You know, listen to this. DC Crime Lab can now test crime scenes after losing its accreditation in 2021. And this is lost accreditation in 2021. And this story is from ABC 7 News on your side. And the date of this story is January 25th, 2025. DC Crime Lab can now test crime scenes after losing its accreditation in 2021. So who was investigating all those crime scenes when they didn't have accreditation? You're wondering why crime is down so much. You couldn't get a prosecution. You didn't even have an accredited crime lab. The whole system in DC is broken, and it's not because it's run by a bunch of black people. It's broken because it's run by a bunch of liberals. And people trying to make this a race thing, they got nothing to do with it. You just have pure and complete incompetence, including the police chief, who I still do not understand how she doesn't know what a chain of command is. She actually has a 23-year law enforcement career. She went through all the ranks. She was a K-9 officer. She worked with EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. She did all of that kind of stuff. And she then became the DEI officer for DC, and then the mayor promoted her to chief. If you looked at that and you didn't have her picture there or anything like that, you would think she had a great career until she was promoted to the DEI officer of the DC police force. Up until that point, you thought she would have been all right, but she's out of there. So now you've got a police chief who's incompetent, a mayor who's incompetent, a district attorney who's incompetent, a crime lab that can't analyze crime scenes because they're not accredited. And we find out that the DC police commander suspended, accused of changing crime statistics. This is from NBC4 in Washington, D.C., dated July 18th, 2025. Man, this is like a bad writer's room in a movie. What's all just the most stupid stuff we could put together to happen? It's Idiocracy. This is the movie Idiocracy, literally, in Washington, D.C. A DC police commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district. No wonder the crime is down in Washington, D.C. You got the troops, the high brass inside the DC police force cooking the books. Nope, that's not me saying that. That's NBC News 4. Sue them, not me. I'm just reporting and commentating. And for anybody who knows me, you know how much I love and appreciate unions. So whenever you hear me coming and waxing poetic on that, you know strange things are afoot at the Circle K. The union claims police supervisors in the department manipulate crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably compared to last year. Well, if you go to TikTok and you go to all these other places, you will see that the residents of DC, especially the lower income people, they all know crime is going through the roof, and it's the juvenile kids. It's because those kids don't have fathers at home that are gonna whoop that behind when they get out of line. It's because the culture has completely broken down and destroyed the nuclear family inside the United States of America. And that's why everything is just upside down right now. These are things you can't make up. These are things that you can't just sit there and say, "Oh, I think it's, uh, inequality of income," it all comes back to the family and God. Pullman, the former commander of the 3rd District that patrols Adams Morgan and Columbia Heights, was placed on leave with pay and told he was under investigation for questionable changes to crime data. 5 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation told News 4. Well, we're investigating you, but we're going to keep you on the payroll. I guess you have to kind of do that in case he is found innocent. I guess you kind of got to do it like that. We got a chat in from Rumble. Blue Sim says it was definitely an assault with a deli weapon. Yep. We just got to find out whether it was a cold cut trio or an Italian BMT. Extra mayo, though, for sure. Onions and olives were probably optional. He doesn't look like an onion or olive guy. Of course, NBC reached out to Mr. Pulliam. Maybe I misread it. It's Pulliam. He denied the allegations against him and referred us to the public information's officer. The police union is fit to be tied. And honestly, I am happy to man, someone's gonna cut this up and play it back to me. I know it. It's good to see the union going ahead and protecting their rank and file folks. Because I'm gonna say to you that 98% to 99% of all the cops are good cops. Are there bad ones out there? Absolutely. But these meatball marinara, I don't think it was a meatball, man. I don't think it was a meatball because because that cop had the mayo go next to him and splat it out to him. And if it was a meatball, it would have been red. But if it was a meatball marinara, I hope he put green peppers on it. Subway sandwich with green peppers, meatball sub with green peppers is pretty good. A little bit of salt and pepper too. But the problem with DC is so bad that Trump has to do something. That is our nation's capital. And quite truthfully, um, as president of the United States, you have to walk, chew bubble gum, pat your head, and hop on one foot between steps. And if Trump can get DC under control, it's gonna bode well for the rest of the United States. And I'm not even gonna entertain playing the clips of Mayor Bass or Mayor Adams. We don't need any of that. But I promised you I was gonna tie this into Jackson, and here we go. We have CCID. We have the Capitol Police. We have proven that when the state takes over the local municipality, that you can have a positive impact in policing. What Mississippi did in Jackson, Trump can do in DC, and it will work. And I'm not s Mississippi is doing great. I will always talk up Mississippi. If I need to pat somebody down and put somebody down inside Mississippi, I will, but I think our state is really that good. It's awesome here. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. But if we can do it in Mississippi, then they can do it in DC, and then all of a sudden, some of these other states are gonna be able to start doing it too. I'm not suggesting that Illinois will do it. Illinois wouldn't, take over Chicago. That would be a disaster. But you could see somewhere like Texas going into Houston, or perhaps Georgia going into Atlanta. The playbook is out there. And the thing is he President Trump has 30 days under the Constitution, and then, if Congress doesn't allow him to continue the work, then he has to stop. But right now, documentation is key, and everybody is documenting everything. And at the end of this operation, we're gonna say, "Hey, we arrested this many people. We did this much stuff. Crime's down this much. This is what's going on." And of course, the mainstream media will poo-poo it, but we'll be here to document it on the Andrew Gosser Show, Lord willing, and we'll continue to press. Look, we've got Howard Richardson coming up in the next hour. Hope you all stay tuned. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. I want to say thank you to Marie Thomas for this awesome hat I'm wearing, my Gulf of America hat. Love it. I get to wear it. And the truth of the matter is, Miss Marie, I'd be wearing it more, but I left it in my other vehicle and didn't know where it was. So I wore it for that one time, and then I misplaced it, and I just found it yesterday, so I'm wearing it again. You know, the listening audience here is just awesome. People are saying all sorts of craziness. Bell peppers on a sub sandwich or any other food is almost as bad as having to eat Chicago-style pizza. Brother Blues Him, I just have to disagree. Growing up in Chicago, deep dish pizza is the best. But Brother Rick coming over the top on the text line, which is 601-879-5060, he goes, "We know more about the sandwich slinger than we do about either one of the attempted assassinations on President Trump." Just saying. I mean, that's mic drop right there. We know more about the sandwich slinger. I'm going to have to work on that. Darn Parkinson's. It's crazy. In less than 24 hours, we've got more. Well, and the truth is, there's more video and audio on what happened to Trump in Pennsylvania or on the golf course than there is on the sandwich slinger. But yet we know more. Finally, there was an upset texter. You sit there and berate the police chief, but you don't really go over her achievements. Well, here's the thing about radio. You know, you kind of got to go where the audience is directing you or how you're feeling it. But the thing about radio is that in show prep, you will prep like 50 to 100 times more than what you actually need. And it just so happens that I have her bio right here. So let's go through it. This is for Pamela A. Smith, Chief of Police. Pamela A. Smith is over 27 years of law enforcement experience and is a decorated career, having achieved numerous commendations and awards. And we're still trying to figure out what the chain of command is. While in the United States Park Police, Smith served in major city field offices across the United States, including San Francisco, New York, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C., rising through the ranks to become police chief for the United States Park Police in 2021. I'm not going to go through her whole career from 98. I'm just going to say she was a patrol officer, got numerous commendations for being proactive and with good drug enforcement policy, sobriety checkpoints, community engagement. She was reassigned to New York, where she continued her remarkable work ethic and joined the K-9 unit and K-9 handler in the Explosive Ordnance and Detection Unit, or EOD. She transitioned to senior instructor at Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. She rose through the ranks as sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, deputy chief, and was ultimately promoted to police chief, becoming the first African-American female to serve as chief in the agency's then 230-year history. Got to have that DEI in there. After a successful career in law enforcement with the Park Police, it's only fitting that once you get rid of one government job, you retire, get the full pension and payment, and go to another government job, which is what she did. She led the efforts in the diversity, equity. Smith joined the Metropolitan Police Department, DCPD, in May 2022 as the Chief Equity Officer, assigned to the Executive Office of the Chief of Police. She led the department's efforts on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and made an immediate impact on the MPD and ensured that DEI issues remained a priority in the department. Meanwhile, crime going up. So, look, this is the problem, unfortunately, with many of us who grew up in Gen X. We learned how to write good paper. As an enlisted man in the Navy, I knew I had to write good paper if I wanted to get promoted. I knew as an Air Force officer, I had to write good paper if I wanted to get promoted or get an award. And this right here is some fine writing. She's hooked up. I genuinely believe the longer that this DC issue goes on, the more we're going to see that the mayor's incompetent, the chief's incompetent. I don't want to say the rank and file police department's incompetent. I think some of the leadership in the police department might be incompetent. And they have all been exposed to the DEI virus over there. And the truth of the matter is, until we get to a point in America where we don't put down name, age, or sex on an application, and they just look by the body of work and performance and results, I think there will always be that bias in there. And that bias works both way, whether you're for DEI or against DEI. You can't be holier than thou saying, "Oh, DEI is bad," and just have people who end up running roughshod, and then you get a goon squad situation. And then what really sucks about that is you can be Rankin County where you do so much good stuff, but you have that one incident, that one bad apple, that one bad day, bad officer, group of officers, and it just completely destroys your reputation. And unfortunately, in a representative republic where we cherish our freedoms and, you know, our freedoms are guaranteed to us by our creator, when we have a police force that's operating outside the rules like that, it stinks. And I'll tell you this too, having been on several ride-alongs and watched a lot of this go down, it is scary, especially when you know that things might get really spicy really quick. Those men and women, they just wanna go home to their families at the end of the night, kiss their kids on the forehead and say, "Hey, dad's home okay, mom's home okay." I'm sure that they did not have patrolling Washington, DC in the middle of August on their 2025 bingo card. But yet, here we are. So I'll be interested to see this. Carolyn Levitt, the White House press secretary, doing an absolutely phenomenal job. She continues to be a symbol of excellence for this administration. I don't have the audio in front of me. That was another comment too. Andy, you play a lot of audio. I like audio because that way, not only do I say what I think, but I back it up with the audio, and it just helps complete the circle. Got to build that reputation up. You got to build that accountability and trustworthiness. Got to do it. But Carolyn Levitt's doing a great job. I'm sure that she'll be continued to get bombed with questions from the leftist media. But she's got it covered pretty good. And that's really all I've got to say on DC. Another big story going down today is President Trump is meeting with the Vladimir Putin at Elmendorf. I think it's Elmendorf Richardson Joint Base. I just know it as Elmendorf Air Force Base. I was deployed there for a little bit. Shout out to the AWACS up there. I loved it up there. Man, you want to talk about some great duty. My goodness. Now, if you got to be used to those long days and long nights, but my goodness, is it awesome up there. President Trump is meeting with President Vladimir Putin, and potentially they might even bring in Zelensky after that first meeting. If it's a good first meeting, which President Trump said there's a 75% chance it's good, 25% chance it's bad. And he's going to know pretty quick within 3 to 5 minutes. But if that works out and Trump gets this all tied up, I know none of you had this on your bingo card. So don't even step. Hillary Clinton admits she would nominate Trump for Nobel Peace Prize if it helps end the war in Ukraine. New York Post. Pow. And she puts in a lot of conditions in the story. You can't bow down to Vladimir Putin. You've got to put constraints on him. She's looking tired. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it just goes to show you that President Trump is really having an impact on the world stage. I don't have all the conflicts he's moderated in, but there were 7 that were listed, and I'm sorry I don't have the 7 in front of me. I accidentally X'd out of that tab, and, that's what I get for clicking too quickly. But the point is that President Trump has gone ahead and already ended several conflicts, curtailed other conflicts, and tamped down a lot of other ones. So, it's exciting to have a president who's actually competent in getting stuff done around the United States. In the next hour, we're gonna have my brother Howard Richardson on, J6 political prisoner of war under the Biden administration, had the FBI weaponized against him, and he's gonna talk about his story. That's gonna be at 11:20 Central, about a half hour from now, 12:20 Eastern Standard Time. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the dulcet tones of the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Look, if you're looking for something to do today, Brother Clay Edwards, you know him. He is host of the best morning radio show in all of Mississippi on any radio station, The Clay Edwards Show. He's having a meet and greet at Cypress Point Resort at 12:30 today. And he wants to meet all the listeners out there. So if you're not busy and you're available, head on out to Cypress Point, 12:30. He's talking about a ribeye steak sandwich, and he was upfront about this. This isn't your typical lunch. This is an $18 sandwich. This isn't like the sandwich slinger in Washington, D.C. You're getting a good sandwich. Ribeye. Yum. But it'll feed 2 people. It looks delicious. He sent me a picture of it. It's going to be from 12:30 to 2 o'clock today is what it is. I think it says. He says actually 11. I'm not sure if he's there now. But if he is and he's listening, I hope he lets me know. But that's an opportunity for you. There's all sorts of other stuff going on. And, it's like as quick as I get in here, people are asking why did they pick Alaska? Apparently, Alaska was a good middle point, and it's secure. I'll tell you what, being on a joint military base, being on any U.S. military base, I would argue Russian military base too, probably pretty secure. And Putin doesn't have to fly far. And, if Vlad can get over there, Vladimir Zelensky, I was just checking my news feed, and President Trump says it will be up to Ukraine to decide on territory swaps. So we're going to see what happens there. And just so much breaking news. Today is just like a complete flood. And not only that, I'm not blowing. I've got this unknown texter. I don't know who he is, but he makes so many good points. And last night he just unloaded and talked about a lot of different stuff. But the main gist of his point is that he's tired of waiting around. He's been waiting since 1980 for some of these crooks and criminals to be prosecuted. And, he wants his pound of flesh now. And I've got to say, I can't say I disagree with him. If I was the benevolent dictator of the world, we'd have this all wrapped up. But I'm not. But saying that, there is still a lot of good stuff that's happening in America. And we can either be part of the solution and continue to report about all the good stuff going on, or we can get stuck in the doom loop, the doom scroll, the Operation Mockingbird plan that keeps us angry against one another, bickering, arguing, getting frustrated, not focusing on the stuff that we all agree with and can, move forward with, but the hate and anger. Look, you're listening to Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll see you at the top of the next hour. Take care, everybody.
WYAB, Pocahontas, Jackson.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Steve Kathan. Heading to Alaska for his summit with Russia's Vladimir Putin, President Trump says it's likely land swaps with Ukraine will be up for discussion.
They'll be discussed, but I've got to let Ukraine make that decision. And I think they'll make a proper decision. But I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table.
CBS's Margaret Brennan.
The vice president has been very involved in the details here. He's been talking to European diplomats. He said the U.S. won't make territorial concessions. Anything about Ukraine's territory has to be done with Ukraine directly.
CBS News correspondent Ramy Inocencio.
2 of the 5 ministers joining Putin oversee the country's finances or its investment. So that implies that there will be some kind of economic consideration. Would Trump say that he'll lift oil sanctions, for example, or would Putin say that he'll invest in America?
The storm called Erin is now a Category 1 hurricane, gathering strength in the Atlantic, but no direct threat to land right now. Meteorologist Craig Allen.
We are still not expecting any direct landfall. However, the ocean will be roughed up severely. The swells generated by Erin are likely to cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions.
Washington, D.C. has filed suit against the federal government. CBS's Scott McFarland says it all follows the Attorney General's latest action.
Pam Bondi ordered the D.C. Police Department and the D.C. mayor to honor and acknowledge that the new leader of the department is the DEA administrator, Terry Cole, now the emergency commissioner of the D.C. Police. Also, she ordered the District of Columbia and its police department to fully cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Washington, D.C.'s top government lawyer has just announced he's going to file suit to challenge this.
CBS's Michael Wallace tells us it turns out Health Secretary Kennedy may not push for tougher regulations on pesticides or ultra-processed foods after all.
Kennedy has called them major threats to children's health, but a draft of a report called Make Our Children Healthy Again, obtained by the New York Times, does not propose any direct restrictions on pesticides or ultra-processed foods. The draft does recommend a framework for childhood vaccines, educating the public on the dangers of vaping, and increasing breastfeeding rates.
The top Republican in the Texas House has just ended a special session as Democrats who fled over a redistricting plan are set to return.
Do not go very far, as I believe our governor will be calling us back for another special session very, very soon.
Checking Wall Street, the Dow is up 83 points. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia. I got a tour of their headquarters. I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company.
News and weather brought to you this hour by Flora Animal Hospital, where we treat your pets like our own. Visit our website, floraanimalhospital.com.
This law is made to protect children. A heat advisory today. The high is 94 and the heat index at 105, says the National Weather Service. The chance for afternoon storms, 50%. Tonight, the storm chance is down to 10% with a low at 74. Saturday, a 40% chance for storms with a high at 96. 96 also Sunday with a chance for afternoon storms. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis. The law that says teenagers have to verify age to use social media in Mississippi made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and now the ruling has come down with no dissent that the law can be enforced. You may see changes to platforms like Snapchat now that the law has been ruled enforceable. Cuffs were applied to the wrists of 39-year-old Megan Victoria Davis of Ridgeland Thursday. She had been wanted on aggravated animal cruelty charges. Police have not given specifics. No cause of death for Vicki McNeil. She was the chief of police in Canton from 2009 to 2013, and the police department says she died Sunday. A fire in Greenville on Highway 82 at a place called Hubcap City. It happened Wednesday, and today fire investigators are still looking into what caused it. A firefighter had heat exhaustion and cramps and had to have an IV, and a man was burned on his arm and had to go to the hospital. In Yazoo, Adrian Jamal Hill got his sentence for statutory rape Thursday, 12 years without parole and 5 years on probation after that. In Horn Lake, police say a man who went to Baptist Hospital DeSoto was stabbed in the chest and says it happened during a fight at the International Barber Shop Tuesday. It took 2 days to stabilize the guy, and now police want to talk to people who saw that happen. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views.
The sandwich slingers. Yes, you are. You are listening to hour 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Friday, the 15th of August, 2025, and I'm excited because in about 13 to 14 minutes, we're going to have Howard Richardson on. He's a J6 political prisoner of war under the Biden FBI, and I believe he was held in the DC Gulag. If he wasn't, he'll let me know. But he's going to be on to talk about his experience. And you know that this is a very near and dear subject to my heart. I want to give as many of these gentlemen and women too the opportunity to come on the radio and have their side of the story heard. I can't imagine, after fighting for over 20 years of my life for the Constitution of the United States and liberty and freedom, that they could come in summarily and just take all those freedoms away. And that's why there were so many pardons, and there were a few commutations. There were some people there that got out of line and they shouldn't have done what they did, but they're commuted, time served. Don't do it again. The number, if you want to be part of the show, is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. Arrogant people set the city aflame, but wise people turn away anger. I love sayings like that. I love proverbs like that. Because when I say those things, I'm not telling them to you. I'm looking at me in the mirror and saying, Andy, you need to do a better job about that. Because I get fired up pretty quick, and I know it's not right. I'm excited. This weekend's the kickoff of the Premier League. Real football. And my team, the Arsenal, will be taking on Manchester United. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. In the comments, they were talking about Alaska and how it was one of the greatest deals ever pulled off. And I agree with it. But again, my show prep takes me all sorts of different places. There is a separatist breakaway movement in Canada right now, in Alberta and Quebec. When I was flying AWACS, we had Canadians fly with us because we're all protecting North America. NORAD is both Canada and America. And he would often say Quebec. And I don't know if that's right or not, but if he was around, I always said Quebec. And whenever he wasn't around, it was Quebec. So I'm not trying to be hateful on names and enunciations. We all know that my name pronunciation skills need work, and it's in work. But the cool thing is that Alberta, Quebec, and I think actually Saskatchewan as well, they're all looking to break away from Canada and possibly either become an independent state, a nation unto themselves, or President Trump has always joked about having the 51st and 52nd state. And the thing about it is that between Quebec, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, that is like 90% of Canadians' energy resources. And they are ticked. And they already have agreements in place with Montana, North Dakota, Washington State, Minnesota. That whole top, they got all that all lined up already. And you don't think President Trump doesn't know about that? I'll tell you what, those those residents up in those areas know about it. If you go do a search online for Canadian separatists or Canadian independence, you will see all sorts of stories about that. They actually lowered the requirements to get it put on the ballot from like 350,000 signatures down to 165,000 signatures. And these people tried to actually separate back in 1995, I think was the last attempt, and it barely lost. There was no ability with social media to communicate and get people fired up to do this, and they're using it now. And I'm not sure we want that in America, but it's exciting to me whenever people start standing up to their government because their government become tyrannical, and they start trying to impose their will on every part of your life. Your individual liberties no longer matter to the deep state. They just want you to pay your taxes, send your checks, shut up, and be quiet. We don't like that. I've got another really interesting story here. Jackson State students call on administration to address an unfair housing crisis. There's a housing crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. Did you know that? I did. I drive by JSU every so often, and I'm in agreement that the students need not affordable housing. They need housing on campus that they either pay for themselves or that they stay on the university. And everybody is throwing shade at each other. More than 380 students on financial aid at Jackson State University have signed a petition calling on Denise Jones Gregory, the interim president, and the university's Housing and Residence Life Office to address an unfair housing crisis. Apparently, they're getting ready to start school and they've all lost their housing. I'm not sure if they've already paid their tuition or if the government already sent their checks on their behalf. But Jackson State got a problem. And Jackson State, let's be honest, ever since primetime left, it hasn't been quite been the same. Primetime was doing work. Now he's in Colorado, and I hope he's doing well. I know he had that cancer scare. I wasn't following too closely. Honestly, American football, just not a fan anymore. I think it's between all the rules and all the social media DEI crap they're trying to push down our throats. I just don't have time for it. Another big story that you might not have heard about, and this is also in the Mississippi Today, but this comes via the Associated Propaganda, or the AP. Supreme Court allows enforcement of Mississippi social media age verification law. Excited for that. Is it really going to help that much? No, but it will help some. And the truth of the matter is until we as parents decide we're going to be all up in our kids' business when they're online, it's going to continue to be a decade of decay. You know, my daughter's 16, and she just recently got Instagram. And the only boy she has on her Instagram is her brother. Yep. And I make sure of that. I'm not even on her Instagram. I don't go through that. Every once in a while, I will peruse to make sure that there's nothing unsavory or sultry about it. And after that, she's on her own. But as a dad, I'm also always communicating with her, always letting her know that she's a high-valued woman, that she's beautiful just the way she is, that she's amazingly smart, funny, witty, and the girl takes after her mother. She can cook. She's got mad skills on the tacos. She's got this taco recipe. My goodness, I just think about it. I'm like, yeah, you can make those tonight. That'll be great. But it's good to know that Mississippi is continuing to push the bounds on trying to save our kids from a society full of decay and debauchery. And it's out there, and we all see it. You drive down 55, you see the big billboards. and ads pop up all the time, and you're just like, I don't need to see that. I don't want that. But that's where we are in society. I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything that I wanted to talk about before we go. Oh, here's the other big news story from ABC News. And I don't know if the Supreme Court will actually look at this or not, but it's actually absolutely been submitted. And this is going to turn a lot of heads. The U.S. Supreme Court formally asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling. This is by Kim Davis of ABC News. 10 years after the Supreme Court extended marriage rights to same-sex couples nationwide, the justices this fall will consider for the first time whether to take up a case that explicitly asks them to overturn that decision. I think government needs to get out of marriage altogether. How they weaseled their way into it is diabolical, and it's dirty. Marriage was never recognized by the government back in the day. It was between a man and a woman and God. And that's it. And you know what? The government's like, hey, how do we break down this institution of marriage? How do we get rid of the nuclear family? I know what we'll do. We'll give married couples deals on homing or income discounts on their taxes. We'll give them housing discounts if they own a home together. We'll give them all sorts of different deals. If you're a man and a woman and you have kids, you're going to get tax credits there. And look, if you're a gay couple or a lesbian couple, you're like WTF. How come I can't get the same housing rate? How come I can't get the same health care benefits? And there is a logical point to that. Now, I know that I have friends out there that say, nope, they shouldn't get any of it. And I might agree with you, but if you're going to get government involved with this, it's a different standard than a God standard. And the best thing that could happen to America is to just get the American government out of the marriage business altogether and return to the nuclear family. It's not even debatable. If you have a mom and a dad in the home together raising kids, crime rate goes down, grades go up, and life is better. Is it perfect? No. Are there arguments? Yes. Is every marriage perfectly perfect? No. There are arguments and disagreements all the time. There might even be shouting matches. It's not fun. We don't like that. But that's life. But you look at what's going on now, it's yucky. Ugh. Don't want it. We're going to take our break a little earlier. And when we get back, Mr. Howard Richardson is going to be on the phone. We're going to talk to him about his J6 experience, and I'm looking forward to it. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Hey, Howard, you there? How's it going, my friend? Oh, I hear you fine. Howard, we're in a commercial break right now for about the next 3 minutes. You're in Pennsylvania, right? Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through my spiel. I'm going to introduce you. Did you go to the DC Gulag? Which one were you at? Just so I know. You okay? I'm just gonna say Pennsylvania. I'm gonna. What I want to do is take like the first 3 minutes for you to kind of just talk about yourself, what happened on J6, where you went to prison, and then we'll develop that into the further into the interview. Does that make like sound like a good plan? Yep. You're gonna hear silence for a little bit, but when we get back, you'll hear me come in and talk. Yep. Awesome, Howard. I'm looking forward to this. Yep, and brother, I'm sorry for any miscommunication that we had. I don't. Yeah. Yep. All right. I'll talk to you in just a minute, my man.
You too. At Flora Animal Hospital, we treat your pets like our own.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show at 103.9 WYAB, streaming worldwide on Rumble, X, YouTube, that Facebook platform. I said it. I don't like saying it, but it's there, and also at WYAB.com. Look, we are honored, and we have a privilege of talking to Mr. Howard Richardson. Howard, are you there, my man? Howard is one of our J6 heroes. And as you know, on this program, we love to give you guys a platform for you guys to, talk about your experiences, what you were doing on January 6th, what happened to you, and then kind of like move into what you're doing now. So, brother, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Where you at? And kick it off with January 6th. Yep. Mm. Mm. Ah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm. Yeah. My goodness. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Oh, that's not fun, dude. Yep. Yep. Pepper spray is just naturally that way. Hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm. Hmm. Well, Richard, let's do, Howard, let's do this. Let's take a break. And when we get back, we'll talk about your trial and where you went to jail and what you're doing now. Does that sound like a plan? Oh, awesome. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're with Howard Richardson. We'll be right back. Great job, dude. You're doing great. And this next segment, we'll be back at roughly 30. All right, but and we can do that at the end. But Howard, this is all about you. I would just want to make sure that we get that. All right, my man. I'll come back. You'll hear me coming back, and we'll know. Yep. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show. You're listening to Andrew Gosser and Howard Richardson on 103.9 WYAB. Howard, you were just getting finished up what happened on J6. Let's continue the story going down the road, my friend. And we got about 11 minutes. It's all yours. Mm. Mhm. Well, let me ask you this, Howard. You know, we hear about all the time in Washington D.C. how crime's down, yet we have all these young kids, 13, 14, 15, 20, 21, 22, committing all these crimes, and they're just getting released. Here you are with a clean record. Do you have a speeding ticket? So the worst thing you've ever done is got a speeding ticket and you get 4 years. There you go. Keep going, my man. Mm. Yep. So, where did you end up? Where'd you go to? You actually went to trial in DC, and then where'd they send you to? And how long were you in DC for? While you were waiting trial? So 8 months. Yep. So you were there for 8 months. Um, how was your treatment in DC? Was it all right? I've heard other J6ers on. So all right. So you get through with your sentence and you go to Pennsylvania. Then what? Mhm. Mm. Mm. Oh, yep. One. Sure. So when J6 happened, you went home. How long was it before you got arrested? So October, November of 2020 is when you got arrested. Wow. So from October to about June, you were in DC, and then from, like, June till you were pardoned, you were in Pennsylvania prison. Mhm. That would be a question that I'd have to ask, an attorney, what if that what crime that actually is. I know, somebody you t try to hit somebody. I know it's not assault, but, but it well, you to be fair, brother Howard, you did do more than think about it. You actually did take a swing. So, I mean, there's something there actionable. It hit the baton. You didn't uh-huh. Yep. Yep, and that's the point I'm trying to get at, because there's no way that good people, who got rolled up in this, served the time that they did. Did you end up getting a pardon then from President Trump? Mhm. Well, Howard, I'm glad that you did get that pardon. It's a shame that January 6th happened at all. And more people like you who get out there to get their voices heard, their side of the story out there, the more people can see, just what a messed up situation it is. Brother Howard, we got 30 seconds left. Anything else you want to say? Mm, yep. Yeah. Howard, I appreciate you coming on the radio, man. Take care and be blessed. Hey, Howard, you there? Hey, good job, man. Thanks for coming on the radio today. Yep. Yep. Uh, no, brother, I'm not trying to be short with you, but I got to get ready for this next segment, man. Amen, brother. Take care. Be blessed. Yep. Bye bye. Hey, we're on a break right now. What's going on? Hello? You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. I will not let you down. I always get a little bit choked up when I listen to these people who were there on J6 and get rolled up into that, and it fires me up. 2.5 years in prison, my God, and we sit here and we report on all the different crimes that are going on, and people are getting way less for than what he did, and I'm glad that he had a chance to mention his buddy and get his story out there. You know, Howard's getting up there in age, and some Vietnam vets like that just don't need to be treated that way. Next week, I'm going to have Buck Torsk in there. Sorry, Chief. Buck Torsk is going to be here from Jones County. He's a friend of mine, fellow shipmate, and he's got a lot of really interesting perspectives and ideas from out that way. And you know, we're always trying to equip the saints. We're always trying to keep people informed about running for office and the different ideas. And he's got some definite ideas out there. And I just thought it would be a great way to bring in a shipmate, talk for an hour. That I believe that's going to be Monday. It's going to be a great show. And I have to say this too. My audience, I'm grateful for all of you, but I did not know NASA was in the Bible. It's actually a spelling. Now, granted, it's got a lot of different letters in over it. It's not pronounced NASA, it's pronounced Nasha. But it's really interesting. It means to deceive and to be beguiled. And I don't want to go down that conspiracy road theory, but I do know that we love acronyms. And there's a group of people out there who are really digging into this. And when we mentioned Operation Paperclip and bringing over all the German scientists, they reminded me of that. And I was just like, well, you know, I'll put that out there. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it is a weird coinkydink. Last thing I didn't get to talk on about today, and it's a big issue that, you know, Clay feels strongly about it one way. I feel a little bit differently about it. I don't think that Clay and I completely disagree, but this school choice thing, Speaker White gives a glimpse into the House's work on school choice reforms. And this is coming from the Magnolia Tribune. I'm going to save that for Monday because I feel that that deserves a whole segment and a half in and of itself. And just like that, 2 hours are gone. I don't know where it went. I know it goes by quick. When you have your show prep locked, loaded, and ready for launch, you're good to go. And it just continues to go by quick. This weekend's coming up. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great day with the Sweet Bee. We're planning to go out for lunch with some friends, and we're just going to enjoy the day. And I hope you all do the same thing. You know, we don't have enough time to spend with our spouses. You know, during the week, we're always working. And it just any time that I get a chance to spend time with the Sweet Bee, it's just how it needs to be. And I'm grateful and thankful. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for who tuned in today. We'll be back in roughly 46 hours, everybody. Take care. Be blessed.